This episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Cheers to the new year from our friends at Manscaped, because your resolutions shouldn't be the only things that are well kept. 2024 is the time for new heights, new opportunities, and a new look for your Times Square balls. Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're looking to maintain a trim or go for that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Trusted by over 10 million men worldwide, now is your time to get a grip on your grooming with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code ManagingMadrid for 20% off and free shipping. That's manscaped.com and use code ManagingMadrid for 20% off and free shipping. Happy New Year and happy new balls.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Managing Madrid Podcast. We are here in the middle of one of the craziest weeks of the season. We had Atleti and then Barca, and then we got Atletico coming up again on Thursday, which in my opinion is probably going to be the most difficult game of the three because we got to go to the Metropolitano. And since it's such a crazy week, what better time than to bring on a special guest? We got Faysal Hasan, better known as El Faiz, on Twitter, on YouTube, content creator on the SDS pod, blowing up recently on Sky Sports. He's all over the place now. Can't miss him. Faysal, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Thank you for having me, man. I've been watching your podcast for a long time. I've been fan from far. I like what you're doing, and with your partner as well. Apologies to him, I forgot his name.
There's so many. It's hard to keep track. We got Lucas, Matt.
Lucas. I follow him on Twitter. But yeah, I like what you guys are doing. You guys are pretty much the OGs of Madrid podcasts. You guys have been doing it for a long time. But yeah, man, I'm honored to be here.
Thank you, man. Listen, I came across your podcast recently, and you do an amazing job of just going viral and getting a lot of reach, right? So I think it's funny, like, you reached out to me, but just before you reached out to me, I had already discovered you. So it was like you reached out and I discovered you at almost the exact same time. And there's a lot that, like, I feel like we're a little bit behind in stuff in terms of getting our stuff out there and reaching really wide audiences and going viral and stuff. So we're, I guess, OG, but we're so nerdy that we kind of ignore and forget the marketing side of things sometimes. So we have a lot to learn, like, because you guys are newer than us, and you guys are doing such a great job of reaching a ton of people. What was how did the Sky Sports thing happen? Because I saw you tweeted that you were going to be on Sky Sports, and then I saw some clips come out after the fact. I don't know how much of it was actually Real Madrid related. I think it was more Liverpool related. But how did that whole thing happen?
I don't even support Liverpool. So everything that you see online about me tweeting about Liverpool it's more about me wanting Trent to come to Madrid. I'm not a Liverpool fan, just to make it clear. But the whole Sky Sport thing, I've been doing content for the past year, and they reached out. I feel like because I live in the UK, it's a bit difficult for me to get chances because I don't support a British team, and I've never decided to. A lot of people tell me just support Arsenal, support City, support this and that to make yourself known. But I like to stick to what I do. But yeah, man, Sky Sport reached out, and it was a wonderful chance. First time that I've been on live TV. You mentioned about me reaching out to you. I actually tweeted before I reached out to you. I was like, "Listen, I wanna collab with a Madrid fan, but I don't know who." So I tweeted it. I said, "Guys, just give me some names, give me some people that you want me to collab with." And literally, from all the replies that I got to my tweet, most of it was you. So I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not?
All right.
But yeah.
Well, thanks to all the people who mentioned me and name dropped me. That's awesome. I'm going to ask you a question that you asked me when I came on your podcast. Because actually, let's before we get to that, let's clarify that. So you have SDS pods, but you recently branched out in addition to that, and you're also running your own podcast where you.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
from
So,
what I've seen, you talk a lot more about Real Madrid, but you also have your own podcast. So do you want to explain that part of it?
yeah, of course. So I'm part of SDS, is the biggest podcast in the UK, but it's mainly 80% of it, 90% is only Prem heavy. I love Madrid. I've been supporting Madrid since day one, and I want to talk about. I felt like I want to talk about Madrid specifically, or not just Madrid, but La Liga. I watch La Liga every single day, so I feel like I've got the knowledge, and a lot of people reached out to me prior than me doing it. I was like, "Can you please make your own channel? We want to hear you more about Madrid, Barcelona, X, Y, and Z." I was like, "You know what? Why not?" So I started my channel 5 months ago. 6 months ago. It did well, and I think in the first month I got about 15,000 subs from it, which was pretty well. But then I took a break. I took about 4 months break, which is the worst thing you can do on YouTube. If everyone's listening, if everyone want to be a YouTuber, don't ever take breaks because it hinders you. But I took a
You
break.
mean the algorithm punishes you?
It punishes you so badly. So that's why consistency is so key. So if you upload, let's say you upload today and you don't upload this whole month, and you want to upload them the following month, the YouTube algorithm will never be on your side. So I took a 4 month off, me not knowing that's going to hinder me. But then when I came back, because I was moving house and everything else, now I'm basically starting from scratch. It's not like I'm starting from the 15,000 subs. I'm starting from zero now. But now I'm pushing more content. And yeah, man, listen, I want to talk about Madrid. I want to talk about La Liga. So that's what I want to do.
So let me ask this then, because I was going to ask you something else. This podcast is going to be all over the place already. I can kind of tell. But so we get that question a lot, like, how do we get started? How do we do something like this? How do we grow? And for us, it was a combination of insane consistently, not only for like a couple months, but for like almost 10 years. Like we just kept going and going and going. And there's that side of it, but there's also the side of like, okay, you can be consistent, but then what's the next step of like reaching people? What did you guys do to get SDS to where it was? Like do you remember like when it started, how it started?
Yeah.
And like, was there like a phase where you're like, is this worth it? Do we keep doing this? Or was it like pretty clear right away that it was going somewhere?
No, the first couple of months was difficult because, of course, it's about gaining attraction and engagement. But after that, it's about, for me, in my opinion, it's just about consistency. It's just about pushing through, and it's about trying to reach out to every single platform. It's not just YouTube, but you need to push yourself out on IG, on TikTok is key, in my opinion, because nowadays a lot of people use TikTok, and it's how you deliver your message. You can't, let's say, in a podcast of 2 hours, let's say me and you're going to be talking about for an hour. We're not going to talk about sorry, I'm sorry for
no, there's no, you can do that. Treat this like SDS.
Okay. we can't, of course, talk the content that you put out on TikTok or Twitter or IG. You can't put the boring part of it. Correct. About the tactical breakdown of it. It has to be something that you believe others are going to hear from you.
Yeah,
and that's where you're going to get the audience. So if me and you talk about Xavi now, of course we're not going to get anything attraction from it. But if we talk about a specific point about Xavi, maybe say he's the worst Barcelona manager of all time, and then explain why, and then that's where that traction will come. If that makes sense.
Totally makes sense, and that's my biggest challenge, my biggest weakness. And like we have a social media editor guy, and we had another one. So our first social media editor guy is a awesome guy named Angelo Valdez, who now has like almost 2 million followers, I think, and is like his engagement is through the roof. He's a YouTuber in Spanish, and he used to do social clips for us, and he was giving me tips. He's like, man, I'm telling you, we got to put the controversial shit out. Like, I don't care if it's taken out of context. We got to put it out. It doesn't matter if you look bad. I'm like, dude, I can't, like, this is not me. Like, I didn't even say this. And like, there's no nuance in this 1 minute clip. I said so many other things that need to be fit in. And like I always had problem like detaching myself from like the need to like go viral, but also like trying to like put out well thought out analysis, which is impossible in 1 minute anyway. So like I feel like, and I think you're good at this. You got to be a little bit thick skinned in terms of like who cares what people say. You just need to reach the masses.
Exactly. I get a lot of hate from what I say and by a lot of fan bases. But my thinking behind it is I don't really care. If what I say gets to you and gets to a lot of people, then why would I care about someone on Twitter, a 15-year-old person on Twitter with an AV of Tony Cruz is what going to think of me? That's my thinking behind it. But when I say controversial, like let's say for me, my biggest takeaway from all of this is that I would never, in my content over the past year, I don't say things that I don't believe in. A lot of content creators do that.
Right.
I don't believe in that. But the way I say my message is I deliver it in a way which I believe is going to be attractive for a lot of people. That's my thinking.
Correct.
I don't advise saying things they don't believe in. I'm not part of it. I see a lot of people nowadays. I see a lot of people do that.
Well, I literally know people who tell me behind the scenes, like, I'm only saying this because I know it's going viral. I don't care if I believe it or not myself. And so, yeah, like, I'm with you on that. Like, if I have something unpopular to say, I'll lean into that and say it firmly, and I don't care what the response is because it's something I truly believe, right? Mind you, like, I generally do play it safe, and I think that is one of my weaknesses is
you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, yeah.
By the way, just to explain, especially for those watching on YouTube, the reason why Faysal is vertical and not horizontal with his laptop like a widescreen, because we spent 30 minutes before this podcast troubleshooting and we couldn't figure it out, so Faysal had to join by phone. But we did diagnose that it was his fault and not mine, so I just wanted to make that public and clear. All right, so this is what I wanted to ask you off the bat. This is the question you asked me when I went on your podcast. How did you become Madridista?
So I was born back home. I wasn't born in the UK. I was born back home. I was born in Iraq. I'm Arab. I'm Iraqi. And when I was there, every household in Iraq and every Arab household, they either support Real Madrid and Barcelona. Because it comes down to the league. I remember specifically, it comes down to the league coverage that we had. Premier League was never shown on TV. It was only La Liga, and back then it was Serie A. Because Serie A in the 90s with AC Milan and Juve, Inter, it was very popular. So we only had La Liga coverage. If you had a bit more money, you could see a bit more Serie A. So it was only literally all the games, Barcelona games, Madrid games. It was shown on TV every single time. My dad is a massive Madrid fan. My whole household is a massive Madrid. My uncle is everyone supports Madrid except for my mom's side. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to this Madrid. My first game that I can remember watching specifically was the 2000 final, the France against Italy. That's my first ever game. The golden goal, I think Trezeguet's goal.
Yeah.
And I saw a bold guy, just dominating the field. I was like, ooh, this guy, I like what I see about him. And then I started watching him specifically when it was at Juve. Then when it came to Madrid, my first Madrid game is the 2002 Leverkusen Real Madrid. That was my first ever Madrid game. Wow. And I saw the bold guy as well. I was like, the bold guy is there. And the bold guy scored, for me, is still one of the best goals I've ever seen on TV. I was like, I have to. And my dad supported him, everyone supported him. I was like, you know what? It makes perfect sense. So since then, I've been a Madrid fan. A lot of people say you guys don't feel pain. We have felt pain. Getting knocked out on the round of 16 every single season is a lot of pain. Yep. But over the past 10 years, we've seen a lot of happiness. And yeah, that's my story.
I love that. I mean, I think that era, like that message, especially for people our age, like that's the era, and Zidane himself was for so many people the portal to becoming it. The guy was impossible to like not love.
Yes,
the way he played, his humility, but also his confidence, the way that he didn't talk much, but when he did, everybody listened. You know, there's so many stories about other like teammates talking about his presence in the locker room and how he was. I think you and I actually did talk about this, but like, every now and then the nerds on Twitter come out and say Zidane was overrated and say, oh, look at his stats. He doesn't have as many assists as this guy or that guy. I'm like, dude, first of all, we didn't have advanced analytics. And second of all, you're just blind. Just admit that you're blind. It's okay to be like, it's okay, but just say it. You're blind. Like,
Exactly.
we've all seen him. He's a complete master. He showed up in every freaking big game. Champions League final, World Cup final, European Championship final. He was the biggest presence on the biggest stage. No one could take the ball off him. He was scoring goals in all those games. We all saw it, man. We all witnessed it. He is one of the greats for a reason.
Well, they pinpoint certain moments in La Liga, game week 17, where he didn't score against Espanyol or something, and say, well, his GAs is, 10, 15 compared. Now I see people tell me KDB is a better player than Zidane. And I just look at it, I'm like, if you base football over stats, then you don't understand football and you don't enjoy football. But no, what Zidane has done to Mike, he's the reason why I fell in love with the sport. And it's not me, you as well, a lot of people. He is by far one of the greatest we've ever seen, man. And I'm never going to let stats cloud my judgment like that.
Well, like you said earlier in the podcast, 15-year-olds on Twitter. What are your thoughts on Real Madrid season? That's a vague question. Let me rephrase it. Where we are right now, top of the table, just won the Super Cup. Who cares? But, I mean, we kind of care, but not really. Flew through the Champions League group stage. If somebody had told you that we'd be in this position at the beginning of the season, would you have believed them?
I would have laughed at you and I would have said, what the hell are you smoking? The fact that we are in about to enter Feb, we're unbeaten since September. We've won 18 out of 18. Our best goalkeeper's out. Our best defender from last season is out. We've got no striker except for Joselu, if you want to consider him a striker. We've had injuries throughout the whole season. Vinny, Camavinga, Tchouameni, Jude for about a couple of games. And with Luka Modric aging, if you told me we would be literally an alibi the recent injury, I would never believed you. But this is a massive. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this because a lot of people, if they watch my content over the year, I've never been a fan of Carlo Ancelotti, but this is a massive props to Carlo Ancelotti for managing to shape the ship and managing to make us believe that a treble is actually a possibility. If you asked us, I'm not saying it's realistic. I'm saying it's actually, I can see the light in the end of the tunnel. Before, if you asked me at the beginning of the season, I would have laughed at you. But now I can actually see we've got a great team. Why not? If we beat Atleti, which in my opinion is the toughest, as you mentioned earlier, it's going to be the toughest game of the season in my opinion. Because going to Wanda, and we've just beaten them, they want that revenge. Diego, you know how Diego Simeone is. He's going to fight the players, the stadium, everything else. That's going to be our toughest. If we leave that game with a W, and if we qualify to the next round of the Copa del Rey, I actually can see us winning. Potentially, it was just as crazy as it sounds, a treble is actually a possibility.
I agree with you. I think that it is a possibility, but the reason why I think it's kind of impossible as well is it's not because we're not good enough to do it. It's because we've never done it. It's like our greatest team ever couldn't do it. Like Di Stefano couldn't do it. Cristiano couldn't do it. Like, we're just going to lose in the Copa del Rey. I'm amazed we beat Arandina, to be honest. And it was, like, comfortable. I was shocked that happened. I think, like, going back to the expectations at the beginning of the season, I think most people agreed that it would be crazy that we'd be in this position now. I think where I was even more doubtful was not at the beginning of the season. It's when that stretch where Tchouameni and Camavinga both got injured at the same time, and it was like, we're going to be out without these guys for like 2 months on top of everything that's already happening. Forget about it. We're screwed. Oh, and Vinicius, those three injured at the same time. I was like, let's just tread water. Let's just try not to collapse in this stretch until they come back.
On top of that, sorry to cut you off. On top of that, Rodrigo wasn't performing the way he was.
Correct.
Before those injuries as well.
Correct. So it was like Jude in attack by himself. All of our defensive pillars were out. The 2 players in midfield who could play the 6 defensively were out. And somehow we not only treaded water, but we actually arguably played better during that stretch with that formation change and Fede and Cruz and double pivot. Rodrigo got going at changing. Brahim has been unbelievable off the bench. And I'm with you on the Carlo thing to some extent, because I've been culpable of wanting to move on from Carlo at stretches last season. I thought last season was so brutal. Obviously, I've been wrong on that, but I think it's fair to be critical of Carlo, but to also accept he's done an unbelievable job this season. Like, I don't know if any other coach could have figured it out. I'm sure there's a short list of like 2 or 3 coaches who maybe would have been able to do what he has been doing this season with all the injuries, but the way he's figured this out has been unreal.
Yeah, I fully agree. And having to deal with all the injuries, even with the Alaba as well. Alaba wasn't great pre-injury as well. But the fact that he's managed to do it, and then Nacho got suspended, and he said, you know what, let's put Chimeni as a centre-back. And his progression and development of Brahim Diaz deserves a lot of credit. And Jude, a lot of people talk about Jude, him scoring the top score of La Liga. He's got 5 goals in Champions League. How is Jude Bellingham doing it? Well, it comes down to Carlo Ancelotti figuring out and identifying that spot for him, and it's working out to perfection.
Someone in our Discord, we have a Discord channel, and when I announced that you were going to come on the podcast, someone said, tell Faysal that, I don't even remember what the exact word, but it was something like, tell Faysal that his dream of TAA playing for Real Madrid will never happen, and to give up on it. So where does the TAA obsession come from? Where does it start? Just tell me.
He's generational. Like I watch a lot of Premier League because it's my job, and I cover a lot of Premier League. And whenever I watch Trent, it reminds me of it's like watching Marcelo, and during his best year. I'm not saying they're the same. Marcelo's, of course, a complete different player, but I'm just saying in terms of being that match winner for his team. And Trent is giving me that vibe. I said it a couple months ago. I've watched this sport for a long time, and I can only identify 3 match winners from a fullback position. One of them has been Marcelo, another being Dani Alves, and then now Trent. He's in such an exceptional footballer, and I can see him fitting in our team so perfectly well. Of course, it makes it difficult when Dani Carvajal plays the way Dani Carvajal is playing, and massive credit to him. But last season, we never saw this version of Dani Carvajal. And even the season before, we felt like he was fading away. And that's why when I said about Trent earlier this season, is because of what I saw from Dani. But this version of Dani, I can't deny what he's doing. This gluten-free Dani Carvajal is reminding us all from 16-17, that peak Dani Carvajal, what we will witness. In my opinion, the game against Barcelona was, a lot of people spoke about Vinicius and Fede and Jude and everyone, but his performance, that the pass that he made to that second goal to Rodrigo was exceptional. No one talks about it. But yeah, I mean, Trent, I can see Trent at Real Madrid, and I would love to see it. That's the short story.
So I'm doing this kind of silly exercise where I'm writing this big article, mostly just for like research purposes, about how many Real Madrid players were getting to the world starting 11 right now, like the best 11, like how many Real Madrid players were in it. So I'm going through and kind of watching a bunch of games in the Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A, and then obviously La Liga. And I was looking at the right back position, and it's a combination of like, it's not like a thin, I mean, it's not a deep position to begin with. Like, remember that whole time in the past few years when we're like, who are we going to sign to replace Carvajal? It's not like it was a huge list, right? I mean, Reece James and TAA were there, but TAA was never really realistic, and Reece James was just a walking injury, so it's a huge risk to sign somebody like him. And then you get into like Achraf, impossible to get him from PSG. And going on the list, Frimpong maybe was realistic because Xabi Alonso ties, etc. There wasn't a huge list. And I was going through it to see, like, would Carvajal start? And I just came away with the conclusion that it's got to be Trent. I think he's, even in Carvajal's form, it's very rare to see a right back dominate like every offensive metric. Like, I was looking at the numbers to see if it would back it up. And he's third. Trent Alexander-Arnold is third in all of Europe in through balls. And the amount of just key passes and the advanced analytics that he dominates is crazy. It's like he's basically an attacker, right? Obviously, the question marks are on defense, which, you know, if you're that good on offense, you know, it's a trade-off you're willing to take. That's what we lived with Marcelo for years, is that, yeah, it's okay that he's not great defensively because he just brings so much to the table on offense that it doesn't matter. Like, would you say the two, let's look at the post-Dani Alves era, Carvajal and Trent, the two best right backs of the generation?
I would say yes. I would say Dani Carvajal never gets considered amongst those right backs, in my opinion. That was a couple of years where it was Cancelo, it was Reece James, Trent got a couple of shouts. Dani Carvajal's never been getting shouts, which I don't understand why, but I agree with you. Since post-Dani Alves 2016, 2017, which is his final years, it's been Dani Carvajal and Trent. And when I look at Trent, and you mentioned defensively, but the reason why I feel like he can slot perfectly at Real Madrid is we've got the players that can cover for his mistakes. We've got Tchouaméni that can do it perfectly. We've got Fede Valverde that can cover when Henderson was there during that when they won the Champions League and the league. And our centre backs. The reason why I feel bad for him at Liverpool is because he has to do a lot of things. And the right centre back Matip is not capable of maybe covering for him. Militao can do it because he's played right back at Porto in Brazil. I've sat down, I've analysed it, I've done the study behind it, and he would be the perfect fit for Real Madrid. It's literally peanut butter and jam, or fish and beans here in the UK.
Fish and beans?
I mean, fish and chips.
Oh, man, that makes more sense. Okay, I was like, wow, I've been to the UK a few times. I've never seen fish and beans.
It's a marriage which needs to happen, and it makes sense because his contract finishes in 2025, and even if he extends his contract this year, he's a very ambitious person, and he wants to be the best. And I can see him in order for him to make that step into the all-timer status, you have to play for Real Madrid and Barcelona, and you never know. But that's what I'm pushing for, basically.
Look, he's only 25. Carvajal is 32. And it doesn't have to happen right away, but it could be, you know.
Exactly.
It could be an inevitability. We'll see. The thing that's also interesting because on that point you just made, Liverpool's weakness in the last few years, not going like all the way back to like 5 years ago, but let's say like 3 years or so, their midfield, they don't have the same structure we do. So we have more ability to cover for fullbacks that go up the field. You know, in years past, it was Casemiro who was doing all that stuff. Modric, when he was younger, was covering so much ground. Now we got like all the midfielders. I don't have to list them. We all know how much ground they cover. So there is definitely more coverage. I mean, Fede Valverde would be on that side, right? Mm-hmm. Think about how much he drops in behind the right back to cover as well. I gotta ask this. Where are you on this whole FIFA best player thing? This award that just was given out yesterday. Are you outraged by it, or are you just completely not bothered by it?
It's reached a stage where I know it doesn't matter, and for all the Madrid fans to actually, because I've seen a lot of Madrid fans. Something came up yesterday where when Fede and Modric voted for Messi to win it, a lot of Madrid fans, they went on their IG pages and start calling them out and start.
That's crazy.
I tweeted yesterday. One, it's got no effect towards Real Madrid. Secondly, it's got no effect towards you specifically. And why would you think of me? A lot of people say Modric, it's time to go. Rather than leaving this summer, just leave now. I mean, what's the point? And those awards for the past 3-4 years, it's never actually made sense for me. A lot of people won it, which I don't think they should have. And a lot of people made Team of the Year, which I don't think they should have. And even for the past 10 years, I don't think, and I might sound like a hater, and I love Luka Modric. For me, he is arguably the top 2 midfielders of all time. But did he deserve it 2018 over Ronaldo? I don't think he did. But we know why he won it. But I've never taken those awards seriously. So, yeah.
There needs to be this is maybe an unrealistic and utopia dream, but I think that every social media account should be linked to an identification, a driver's license, and we need to have a face and a name behind every Twitter account. Even if it's not public, behind the scenes, we need to know. If you're over the age of 15, like if you're a grown man tweeting at Luka Modric, shit like that, you need to rethink your life. We should just be banned. 15 and up, if you're doing that shit, that's completely unacceptable. If you're 15 and under, we'll give you a pass, okay? Because we were all stupid when we were kids. But after that, there should be no excuse for behaving that way. So the awards, I mean, obviously, for obvious reasons, it's ridiculous. I mean, and the other thing, just to mention, Faysal, is that in some cases, and I don't know if this is the case in all of them, obviously, but in Alaba's case, for example, last year, it was a national team vote and not his personal vote. And people, I don't know if that's the case for all of them this year, obviously, but...
and the fact that Alaba came out and had to tweet about it and actually defend it was just stupid as it is.
Yeah. What do you think is the most fair way of deciding these awards? Is it giving it to fans, journalists, players, coaches, who?
I funnily enough, I had this conversation yesterday with a couple of friends as well, and we thought about it because how Messi won it was, of course, down to the players, and a lot of times, whenever me and you, people that talk about the game, they always say you guys shouldn't have mics. Yeah, you guys know nothing about the players, but clearly yesterday the players voted for it, and they never got the decision right. Yeah, in my opinion, I feel like the best way forward is. We decide, well, not we, it was my decision. It's more like, I feel like it should be a 25, 25, 25, 25 vote. So everyone gets, which means 25% goes to the players. Okay. 25% goes to the managers, 25 to the journalists, and 25 for the fans.
Interesting.
I feel like everyone deserves their own voice and their own opinion. Because we've seen it over the past couple of years. When the journalists got it, they never made the right decision. When the players now got it, they're not making the right decision. I feel like a lot of people, they discredit what the voice of the fans have to say. Because most of the time, yes, you can be biased towards your option, but in most times you're not biased. You're just giving it to the person that you feel like should deserve it. And I feel like we deserve to have some percentage of what happens around the world. So that's why I felt like a quarter for each person might be the most sensible thing.
That's an interesting thing. I've never thought about it that way. I mean, when you hear people say like take the mics away, or the players shouldn't vote because they have friends that they vote for, or these journalists are biased, in the end, it's hard to put a blanket statement on everyone. Like, some players just have bad opinions, despite, like, you'll hear things like, well, you shouldn't talk because obviously this footballer knows more about the game than you do, which of course is true to an extent, but like, if we just treated it that way, Diego Maradona would have been a great coach. Michael Jordan would have been a great owner. Like, it doesn't always work like that. Jose Mourinho, who was a translator, wouldn't have been a great coach, right? And so it's not always one way or the other. There's great opinions and bad opinions in almost every sector of this whole thing. The NBA does it interesting in the All-Star voting, which I think is still the case, which is, so the journalists will vote the starters in, if I'm correct. And after that, the remaining, like the reserves, are voted by the coaches, but the coaches cannot vote for their own player. So I think that would be interesting, like if Messi wasn't allowed to vote for Alvarez, for example, which I'm not, like, that's a weird example because that wasn't even the worst vote. Like, that was, you know what I mean? But maybe, but I don't know if it would solve it in this particular case, obviously, because Argentina only has one vote anyway in this whole thing. But I like the idea of splitting it that way. It's interesting. Yeah.
I feel that's the most sensible option, and it gives the fans a bit of a chance to showcase what they know and what they should do. But hey,
make a early prediction for 2024. Who do you think is going to be at the podium
for the Ballon d'Or top three?
Yeah, Ballon d'Or top three.
So the Ballon d'Or is going to end this after the Euros is going to end. So after Copa America as well. My top three as of yet, Jude Bellingham is in there.
Yeah.
Which is a tap-in, basically. I feel like if Vinicius Jr. carries his form the way he is, and that it really depends on what he does in the Copa America, I feel like they will give it to him as well. I feel like the top five, I'll give you my top five, and then maybe it just goes out. My top five is Jude, Vinny, Mbappe, Harry Kane, and Erling Haaland.
A solid list. I was thinking about this too, like, that's a great prediction. I mean, like, it's hard to go wrong with those five players. If Jude somehow, and maybe it's not that unrealistic, somehow leads England to the Euro title this summer, like, him and Kane are clear, like, contenders.
Yeah.
But, like, imagine how good you have to be to take this England team that, like, never wins anything for, like, the past 40, 50 years, whenever the last title was, to win the European Championship. I've never been confident in England's chances. I mean, I don't support them, but I never looked at their team and was like, they're going to win. They're going to be a problem. Until I've seen Jude play and the mentality he has and his leadership ability, I feel like, for once, I feel like this guy can actually lead them to a title. I don't know if you're a UK national team fan or not, but
No.
okay.
I feel like over the past 4 years, and I said something a couple of years ago, which got a lot of stick. I don't think England will never win anything when they've got Gareth Southgate as the manager. He's he's not a great manager. You could clearly see over the past couple of years his decisions. The game against Italy, he was winning 1-0, and he decided to say, you know what, guys, let's just defend. And the game against I think Croatia made the wrong tactical substitutions. But yeah, go on and so on and so forth. I agree with you. With Jude, if Jude wins the Euros, let's say for argument's sake, and if Harry Kane's he's part of the team as well, and I'm most likely he's going to be the top scorer of England. But if Harry Kane wins the Bundesliga, which I don't think he will, but let's say he will as well. Let's say Harry Kane wins the Bundesliga and Jude wins the La Liga, and they both win the Euros. The deciding factor is going to be the Champions League. And if Bayern wins it, then it goes to Harry Kane. If Real Madrid wins it, then it goes to Jude. If Brazil wins the Copa America and Vinny, I still think, let's say for argument's sake, we win the treble. Jude wins the Euros and Vinny wins the Copa America without Neymar as well, bear in mind. I feel like they will edge it to Jude rather than Vinny.
If Brazil wins Copa America and Real Madrid win the Champions League and Vinny is top scorer in Copa America and Champions League, Messi's going to win the Ballon d'Or. What if England win the Euros, neither Real Madrid or Bayern win the Champions League? Does it go to Kane because he's the top scorer? I don't know. I'm just theorizing. I don't know what's going on, but
or they'll give it to Kylian Mbappe because there's a French award and they want Mbappe because he's, you know how Mbappe is. He's a drama queen, so he wants a bit of recognition.
Well, we're like, I think 45 minutes in. Mbappe finally comes up. Where are you on the scale of Real Madrid fans who hate his guts and don't want him anywhere near the team, or the other side, which is like, we bring the best players in the world regardless if we can?
I'm in the middle. I've got a toxic relationship with him. He's broken my heart. Let me put it in a different analogy. He's broken my heart so many times. But is he the perfect person for me? Absolutely. He's the best player in the world. I mean, it's as simple as that. At the moment she's with someone else. Well, when she becomes single, I have to go after her. And that's Kylian Mbappe. As simple as that. You can't deny his greatness. You can't deny the ability he's got. A lot of people say, well, I've seen a couple of Madrid fans on Twitter. They say, well, if we get Mbappe, that's going to hinder Vinicius Jr. He would want to play on the left-hand side. Vinny can't play on the right or as a striker. I don't care. I don't care about all of that. The only person that needs to figure it out is Carlo Ancelotti. But I'm sure if we've got Mbappe in our team, is going to be a good problem rather than a bad problem. And
well, it's going to be similar to the dynamic that he had with Neymar and PSG. It worked.
It worked perfectly, and a lot of people said it didn't. When Messi came, that's when it didn't work.
It collapsed when Messi arrived, yeah. I mean, before that, they got to a Champions League final, and they lost to Bayern. And look, I'm not saying it was perfect and it was the greatest duo in football history, but it worked tactically. I'll tell you where I am. I'm kind of neutral in the sense that if we just moved on and we just continued to work with Vinny and Rodrigo and Bellingham, I'd still be happy. I'm not going to cry over it. But if he arrived, I also think it would take us to another level. And I brought up this example last week to Lucas that, look, like, do you remember like when we signed Luis Figo? He hated our guts. He publicly swore against us, would never play for that team. And of course, the fans forgot all about that as soon as he arrived. And the La Liga title shifted from Barcelona to Real Madrid. He helped us win the title. He was amazing. I think if Mbappe were to finally arrive, which again, I feel like is maybe never going to happen, and I'm not going to put too much weight into it being realistic or not, but theoretically, if it ever happened, the first hat-trick fans are going to be like, what? He rejected us? I don't remember. When did that happen? They're going to forget.
The moment Real Madrid tweets Comunicado Oficial,
yeah,
everyone's going to forget everything about what he did in the
They're going to be like, I knew he loved us the whole time.
Yeah, literally.
This was a whole play to fuck PSG, not us. We knew it.
They will start tweeting, he's my favorite footballer of all time. I mean, it's so expected, and I feel like it's destined to happen. I can't see Mbappe not joining Real. I think he's very smart, and his decision making is calculated. He's so last season when Hasan won the Champions League, when Hasan won the treble, he quickly put the rumor out that I want to leave PSG, and the whole summer we spoke about Mbappe joining Real Madrid. Now this whole Vinny situation, he scores a hat-trick against Barcelona, and let me put another rumor I want to leave PSG. He's very calculated, but I feel like it has to happen at one point.
I actually respected his mother for coming out and saying that if someone offered us $1 billion, we would take it. Like, I was like, I respect the honesty. Like, I like that she didn't like beat around the bush and was like, you know, we do it for, like, they basically admitted, and I respect that. Last time we spoke on your podcast, you said that you think, this is a subject change, but you said that Pedri will be at an all-time midfield table with, I think you mentioned, you know, Modric and whoever else you mentioned at that table. Do you still feel that way?
The thing is, because a lot of people said the same thing. The thing is, Pedri is a weird one because he's got the ability. We can't deny that.
Yeah. But
do I still think that? I think now there's one player above which I now think that's going to do it more than that another person, and that is Mr. Jude Bellingham. Do I think Jude Bellingham has got the natural ability as Pedri? I don't think he has. But Jude Bellingham is a much complete player. I would rather have Jude Bellingham in my team than Pedri. And that's not because of bias, because you can say it comes down to bias because what I've seen Jude do for us. But to answer your question in simple terms, do I think Pedri can do it? No, because I don't think Barcelona. I think I've actually got a video coming out quite soon about Barcelona. I think Barcelona is heading towards the route of AC Milan. I don't think there will be a successful club in the next 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. 10 years, really. They might get the odds Serie A the same way AC Milan did it 2 years ago, but are they going to be considered a massive, massive team? That's a question mark. So that's why Pedro's chances of him being the best and the greatest is going to hinder. That's why. That
and health. Like,
and health. Yes,
that's a big one.
Exactly.
Like, it's a crazy thought to think that Barcelona will go the AC Milan route, but I think it's possible. Like, more that they had those, remember those dark years they had like during the Galactico era that we had back in the day, they were going through a very dark phase as well. And they didn't qualify for the Champions League a couple times. And I guess this one feels more concerning for them because of their financial situation, not only theirs, but also what's happening around them with other teams having so much more financial muscle than they were competing with back then. And I just got to like laugh when PK came out and said, within 5 years, Real Madrid and Barcelona won't compete with. I'm like, why are you lumping Real Madrid into this? This is totally, don't lump Real Madrid. This is, look, I get it that Real Madrid are competing with money that they'd never competed with before, but you know, they have a whole financial plan and they're financially sound and they're set up for a long time. I don't think you can lump Real Madrid into this conversation. Maybe La Liga as a whole you worry about, but Real Madrid I think are fine, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Perez, if you compare Laporte with Perez, it's two different people.
Yeah.
Perez is a businessman. Laporte, he promised the world to Barcelona fans when he got elected 2 years ago. He said Messi's going to stay. We're going to be back to where we were. And neither of those two happened. So
yeah. Well, that's why like I love the fact that Vinicius talked his shit during the last Clasico, did the four fingers and stuff, because all we heard in the last couple of years was Barca are back. The tweet from PK, new cycle, the new era of Barcelona dominance. I was like, get out of here. You know,
I'm so upset we couldn't score more though. I wanted 5 so badly so I can celebrate the same way PK did it. But I don't know, for some reason we just took the gas off in the second half.
What were your thoughts? Did you hear about Ancelotti telling the referee to blow the whistle at minute 90? Did you hear that?
Oh my! What? Wait, what?
So this was someone, Diego, the guy I do Churros y Tácticas podcast with. He works at Barcelona. He said that it was reported that Ancelotti told the ref to blow the mercy whistle. Remember, like Casillas did in the Euro final against Italy?
Yeah.
Like it was kind of that vibe.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted 5, man. I wanted 5 so badly, but.
In moments like that, if that's true, I kind of wish Ancelotti was not such a good person. He's a better person than I am.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about that you feel like we haven't addressed? Is there anything on your mind in terms of like the Real Madrid universe that you wanted to talk about, whether it's current affairs, historical, anything on your mind?
I feel like this is a message for a lot of people, specifically Madrid fans.
Okay.
Because I got a lot of heat recently when I said I want Brahim Diaz to start over Vinicius Jr. in the Copa del Rey final.
Someone told me to ask you about that too, actually. I think it was in our Discord channel. Yeah.
Yeah, against Barca.
Yeah.
And the things about Madrid fans is they like to hear one thing and they run with it without understanding the context behind it, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really want to talk about. I mean, I'm very interested to hear your opinion. Sometimes when they hear one person say one thing, is they just stick with it and they use it against you every single time.
Yeah.
And with the whole Brahim Diaz situation do I think Brahim Diaz is a better player than Vinicius Jr.? No, I don't. Of course not. Do I feel like he deserved a chance? Of course he deserved a chance after what he did over the past few months. Of course, I never expected Vinicius to score a hat-trick, but it really comes down not only to Vinicius Jr., it comes down to Xavi deciding to play a high line against the best counter-attacking team in the world. If let's say we played Atleti in the final, would Vinny have scored a hat-trick? You never know. I don't think he would have. But the whole thing about Brahim Diaz wanting to be playing in there, I just said, you know what, let's reward what he's done over the past 2 months. Nothing bad towards Vinicius Jr. A lot of people said, well, I hate Vinny. It's a complete different situation. Me asking a player to start doesn't mean I've got a problem with someone else. But yeah.
You'll now forever be labeled as Vinicius hater.
Yeah, I am. For some reason, because I wanted Brahim Diaz to start in one game, but first, Twitter is going to stay 12 for some reason.
Yeah, no, I know. Like people will take. It's funny, like during the whole thing when Rodrigo was not scoring goals, people said I was a Rodrigo hater for not defending him, and then people also thought that I was defending him too much. I'm like, dude, which one is it? Like, make up your minds. So it's like people. I think in those situations, people have selective focus, and they like. There's a lot of people, Faisal, who tune in to hear what we say. They have a favorite player. Doesn't matter what else is said in that 1 or 2 hour podcast. They come to pick up the one line you said about their favorite player, and from that one line, they've already decided you're a hater or you're an apologist, and then forever that's what you are to them, right? Exactly. I think so. What I said about Vinny and Brahim, because a lot of people asked us about it as well, like should Brahim start over Vinicius? And I think there's two different things happening. There's a discussion about meritocracy, and heading into Clásico, Brahim was in better form than Vinicius. That's irrefutable. That's a factual statement. But I also think that there are some players, you know, the cliche quote, form is temporary, class is permanent. Mm-hmm. I think you also, while knowing Brahim's in better form, you also know Vinicius is the better player overall. So you know that there's a certain ceiling that if he hits his stride, it's worth playing him more. It's kind of like, not to compare Vinicius to Cristiano, but like, obviously that's not what I'm saying. But if Cristiano ever went like 5 games without scoring or assisting, I still want him on the field. Even if it's like 100 games of him not playing well, I'm still playing him in the 101st game because it's Cristiano freaking Ronaldo, right? To a lesser degree, I had that rule with Vinicius too. It's like, no matter what, you let him. It's like, you know, shooter slump in basketball. You let Steph Curry shoot through 100 misses because he's Steph Curry. It's the same idea, I think. So I still said I would have started Vinicius regardless of the form Brahim was in. That was my take.
That's fair. Yeah. And I mean, he's got a hat trick, so you were spot on.
It worked out. The one that I really want him to score on and dance is the next game against Atletico in the Metropolitano, man. If there's one satisfying image that I would like to see is him just dancing in front of that crowd after scoring. That's my ultimate dream. I would love to see that.
And look at Koke whilst doing it as well.
Yeah. And just staring at all their fans. Like there's probably like a safety aspect involved. They'd probably just start throwing knives at him, so we don't want that. But I did want to ask this before I forget. So your pinned tweet on your profile is that within 2 years you're going to interview a Real Madrid player.
Yes. I said this last year when I seriously took context into account. Not content into account. I was like, you know what? Yeah. This content thing, I can actually see myself becoming a full-time creator. And I said it with ambition. I said it with, you know what, why not? Now I'm looking at it now. I've actually not said this on a podcast before. I've only said to my friends, my family. But now I don't see it much as happening. The reason why I say this is because it happened with a friend of mine who works with a club, and I feel like I like to share my opinions. I'm never quiet about my opinions. And if I feel like there is a specific player that I need to criticize, I would like to criticize my players. I'm an honest fan. I feel like Real Madrid and a lot of the big teams in the world are very PR friendly. And would they reach out to Faysal Hasan that lives in the UK, who called Kepa a Haywan last month? I don't think they would So I'm looking at it from a PR standpoint. But someone said to me recently, well, how about you change your approach? Maybe be a bit more professional. I can't. Let's say Kepa makes a mistake against Atleti, which I think he's going to start against Atleti for some reason. But let's say he makes a mistake. I can't do a watch along and react to the Kepa mistake as in, unlucky Kepa, you can do it again. I'm not that person. So
I mean, I don't think that's a barrier for you. I mean, look, like Marca and like all these guys that Il Chiringuito, or like they criticize the club all the time, but they get interviews. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I think the biggest barrier is that Real Madrid is extremely, extremely tight in in just their access. They don't let anyone in unless it's like a press conference or mixed zone, or you're literally Marcos or one of the big companies. But my question was actually going to be something else, not like how realistic or unrealistic it is. But the question was going to be, if you could interview one of them, who would it be and why?
Right this second is a simple option of Jude Bellingham.
Mm.
I feel like he is very charismatic. I've watched every single interview of his, specifically the one that he did when he first joined Real Madrid, and he did it in a game show with the guy presenting. I don't know who he is.
Real Madrid TV guy?
Yeah, Real Madrid TV.
Okay.
The videos on YouTube, and I still remember. That's when I said, you know what, I want to interview Jude Bellingham. The interview was how much does Jude Bellingham know about Real Madrid? And,
right.
And he started asking questions from the past. Jude Bellingham gave him so much personality and charisma, but the presenter was very formal, was very thing. I feel like he is the perfect person to at the moment, he's the hottest prospect in the world. He's a superstar at the moment, and there's a lot of stories, and I feel like he'll be a perfect person to interview.
Yeah. I mean, I think the cool thing about that interview too was like he actually answered, like, one of the questions I remember was like, name 5 Real Madrid legends, and he was like so quick, you know. So many players will join a new club and they won't know anything about that club. Like,
what about you? Yeah. Question to you now: if you could interview one person right now, who would it be for Real Madrid?
I think it would be Cruz.
Okay.
I feel like he would be really fun to talk to. He's actually the only reason I would be kind of excited for him to retire. Not that I want him to retire, is because he has a podcasting already and he's very opinionated. And I feel like you could have, and he speaks English, so I feel like you could have a good conversation with him. He'd probably be one. And obviously, like, there's, like, I think Tchouaméni would be cool. Camavinga would be really cool. Jude would be amazing.
Tchouaméni surprised me because I saw his he went on a channel where he was picking some sneakers up.
The shoe store, yeah.
The shoe store. And
yeah.
I watched the whole thing. His English surprised the hell out of me.
Me too.
And he showed a lot of personality, but it's not surprising because he goes to America every year, and he picked a lot of the American accent from what I can see. But I mean, that's a good shout. That would be a good one, to be fair.
Yeah, and like these guys all like they're fun personalities, right? Like I think, like if you interviewed like I don't know Nacho, like I don't know I don't think it would be like the personality is just not like Tchouaméni, Camavinga. These guys are just more fun. Rudiger would be a blast, man. Rudiger, because he also has like I mean, many of the players do, but like Rudiger also had like a really tough childhood. They grew up in poverty. Like he has probably like so many stories, and now he's just he's like one of the most fun players in the squad. It's funny, like Faysal, like I don't do this all the time, but sometimes I'll go to Valdebebas for the training session, and they only the reason I don't like to go is because it's like a 30-minute Uber drive, and then you go there for 15 minutes to watch them do rondos. Like who cares? You can watch it on Real Madrid TV, but there's always like 2 rondos. There's one group which is like a bunch of Spanish guys, and then the other group is like the cool table in high school. It's like Rudiger, Camavinga, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Modric, and they're all just like having a blast. Anyone from that like fun, cool circle, like I would interview. The other side is not as fun. They're just kind of boring, man. I guess like I think I asked all the questions I wanted to ask. I mean, this podcast can literally go 2-3 hours, but I'll just, I guess, ask your predictions for the end, from now until the end of the season, and also what exciting projects do you have in mind? Like, I know you're like a pretty ambitious person. You have to be if you want to interview a Real Madrid player. Like, what's next for Faysal?
To answer your first question, we will win the Copa del Rey and we will win the league.
Wow.
I don't think we'll win the Champions League. In terms of the projects of Faysal, I would love I'm actually going. A lot of people don't know this, but you are now the first person to know this.
Okay.
I'm going to the Asia Cup in about 2 weeks from now.
Nice. The final?
No, just from the knockout stage and onwards.
For the knockout stage, okay.
So I've been tweeting about the Asia Cup for the past couple of weeks. Because Iraq is in there, so I would love to support, and no one really gives the coverage, so I'm actually going there just to show it. But I would love to be a pundit or just get an appearance in every, like in a La Liga show every now and then. But my YouTube is going to be the most consistent factor. I want to stay consistent. But interviewing a Real Madrid player is going to be the pivotal moment of my career. I'm going to do content. I'm going to go to the Euros. I'm going to go to the World. I went to the World Cup in Qatar, and we covered the whole World Cup. But I met R9 there.
I saw that picture, on your Instagram.
But in my opinion, what's going to be the pivotal moment of my career is when I sit down with a Real Madrid player and I just ask the questions that I have. And what I want it to be, it's not going to be PR friendly. It's like the question's not going to be the mainstream media questions of how do you see yourself, this and that. It's going to be questions which I feel like fans would want to know, and I would want to know about them specifically, like some detailed questions. So that's what I'm hoping to aspire in the next couple of years.
I know it's hard to say right now, but Iraq, are they going to qualify for the group stages? It's them in Japan, right? For the knockout stages.
Yeah, we're qualifying to the knockout stage 100%. We beat Indonesia yesterday. We've got Japan this Friday, and that's going to be that's going to be the game where I feel like, can we go as far as what I feel like we can? A lot of people have got us written down literally completely, because Japan is Japan. Japan is the best team in Asia. Yeah, they've got the best players, they've got the best team, they've got the best manager, X, Y, and Z. So that's going to be a very fun game.
Is this? I have no idea, honestly, but I'll ask: is this Iraq's best team ever? Like, how does it?
This is our second best team. We won the Asia Cup, which no one expected.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In 2007, and that was our golden generation. The same generation that beat. A lot of people don't know this. We finished fourth in the Olympics as 2004. And we beat Ronaldo's Portugal. Ronaldo was playing that game, and then in the quarterfinals in the Olympics of 2002.
Wow,
so that was our best generation. This is our second best generation, where 50% of our players all plays in Europe, which is never unheard of from Iraq. So I feel like we can make a deep run. It just depends on the manager.
All right, awesome. Well, good luck to Iraq. Have fun going to the Asian Cup, man. Where can people find you?
They can find me on YouTube, Elfaze. They can find me on Twitter, Elfaze, IG, Elfaze, TikTok, Elfaze. It's the same username.
Beautiful.
Everywhere.
Copy and paste that to all the socials. Follow Faysal. This was fun, man. It's always great chatting with you. I feel like it's a natural connection. It's just like shooting the shit with my friends in a bar. So I appreciate that about you. And everyone go follow Faysal. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Peace out.